I was there about 2 months, and this big old girl approached me, and I'm like 5'1", like 92 pounds, She's like, "What are you in here for?" I was like, "Did I tell you?" And, because I told you I had like little man syndrome, right? I thought that I can just go and talk to these people crazy like I did the men out there, She said, "Yeah, you are going to tell me." I'm like, "Well, if you must know, I'm here for murder."
Welcome back to the Locked In with Ian Bick podcast. On today's episode, I have Cassie Cooper, another guest I had the pleasure of interviewing at the National Association for Reentry Professionals annual conference last month. Cassie is from Arkansas and has a fascinating story about how she landed herself battling addiction and ended up in prison. Cassie's story could happen to anyone, and I think it's really going to touch and hit home for a lot of people. Thanks for Cassie for coming on the show, and thank you to all the listeners who stay locked in with Ian Bick every single week. And thank you to all the listeners who stay locked in to this podcast each and every week. Now, without further ado, sit back, relax, and get ready to lock in with Cassie Cooper. Cassie, welcome to Locked In. We're at the NARP conference this week in Nashville. You're our third interview in the day. So a little tired, but it's been a long day. I spoke this morning, and now here we are. I see you on Facebook. You've been a listener of the show for a while, huh?
I have. I love listening to what you do and all the stories and just the success stories, too, from the people reentering from society. So
awesome. What was it about the show that kind of stuck out for you?
I think a lot of it was just seeing how they reentered and how they are successful now, and not everybody fails when they get out. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people, they don't, they look at us like we're going to fail automatically and that we're not going to succeed.
Does the content hit home for you in a way? Do you feel it relatable? It
hits so home to me. Been to prison 3 times.
3 times, wow.
Yeah, I was a little hard-headed.
And you're from Arkansas, I believe?
Yes, from Arkansas.
Okay. And we met at I was looking at my text when you texted me today, where there's a picture. We met at the Peer Recovery Conference when I was in Arkansas.
We did. Yes, we did.
That's awesome. When do you know JD DeLay? I think he spoke during the conference. He's a YouTube content creator.
I don't know him, no, but I was there and I listened, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he was there. And then obviously, Jimmy McGill.
I do know Jimmy McGill.
So did you grow up in Arkansas?
I did grow up in Arkansas. I grew up in a small town called Manila, Arkansas.
What's it called?
Manila.
Manila?
Yes.
Like vanilla, but with an M?
Yes, with an M.
Okay, what was that like?
So it was a small town, like either you're going to go to church or you're going to do meth.
That was it. It was one or the other.
Absolutely.
And that was just programmed in your head as a child?
No, I didn't grow up that way.
Okay.
I actually grew up with 2 great-grandparents. They raised me until I was 8 and a half. I had 4 uncles that I thought were my brothers. They really took care of me, kind of guided me. I didn't see drugs or anything growing up.
Where were your parents, your actual parents? So
when my grandpa died when I was 8 and a half, my grandmother told me that she was my grandma, not my mom, and I was going to go live with my mom and my dad. Mm-hmm. So my mom was 18 when she had me. She went back to go graduate school. So my grandmother raised me.
Okay. And any siblings at all?
I do. I have a sister and 2 brothers.
Older, younger?
They are younger. I am the oldest of 4.
You're the oldest. Of 4?
Yeah, 4.
Wow. Okay. And what was the age difference? Was it pretty wide?
Me and my sister were 8 years apart. Me and my brother were 10, and me and my baby brother are 20.
Wow. So that is a big, as an oldest. Wow.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Was it a lot of pressure on you to be the oldest?
When I moved back in with my mom, when I was 8 and a half, my grandpa died, so I went to live with her, and I already had my baby sister. So it was a lot, because I was used to being the baby and having 4 uncles and 4, well, they were like brothers to me, to fight with and, all of that good stuff. And now I had to be the top person to help her get through everything. I felt like it was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Like get ready for school. Like I felt like I was being a mom at a young age.
Yeah. How did you guys grow up? Did you guys grow up poor, rich, middle class?
So we were poor. Well, I would say that it was poor, but at that time I didn't even know what that looked like. I just enjoyed childhood. So.
And what did that look like, reflecting back on it now?
I miss being a kid.
Me too.
You know, sometimes we take things for granted that we don't feel plays any role in our life, any good. Because I can look back and tell you all the bad stuff that I went through. But there was a lot of good in my life. You know, my mom and dad both worked. We had everything that we needed. We didn't have everything we wanted, but we had everything we needed.
What's one memory that really sticks out for you in childhood that you'll never forget?
I think, so during my younger years, I played basketball through elementary and through high school. And, you know, my mom would just come because she played high school and basketball. And yes, I'm like 5'2", but like I just wanted to make her proud, you know, and just her just coming to a game and watching me, that was, you know, everything to me. So she would come and just cheer me on. And looking back, I don't remember those all the time.
Yeah. It's good to sometimes reflect back on it so they never leave. Good little reminder where you came from.
It is, yeah.
So did you go to all public school all your years?
I did go to all public school.
Middle school, high school?
The same school.
Completed high school? Oh, wait, it was combined, like the same?
Well, they were all in Manila. So, yeah, no, elementary was different, but from 7th grade to 12th was all combined.
Okay, and did you end up graduating from high school?
Got my GED in prison.
Wow. We, you know, don't be ashamed of that because a lot of individuals that come on the show did get their GED in prison, if not at all, you know, in some cases.
Yeah, I didn't even think I quit in 2 weeks into the 12th grade.
What was your reason?
So this is going to be maybe a little painful to share, but I share it quite a bit. I married my high school sweetheart. Never had did drugs or anything before then at all. I was in choir and played ball. But our 6-day married, we got married, and then I went ahead and quit school because I can share the good memories about my mom, but I can also share the bad memories of, like, she did like to use the word, call me fat when I was like a size 3, and that stuck with me. And he just was like, well, let's just go get married, and I was like, okay, I'll quit school. I'm 18. Our 6-day married, I had went and was going to be a good wife, and I found a syringe and a spoon in his pocket. I had no idea what that was. I was freaking out, and he began to put his hands on me, and I was like, well, this is not the man that I've been with. You know, he opened up doors for me. He was a gentleman. I did not expect that to happen. And like I said, this is a little hard to talk about sometimes, but he, luckily our door was kind of cracked, I guess, and my uncle's wife had come to bring a housewarming gift, and she got him off of me. She said I was turning blue, and he got, like, from here to, like, right behind your chair to the door, and I told him that I wished he would die. The next morning, I got that call. He had shot up Oxycontin, and it blew up his heart. I was pulling him off the ventilator at 18 years old.
Holy shit.
It was rough.
How long were you guys together for?
4 years.
And you had no inkling that he was... Isn't it insane how someone could hide that that's so close to you?
I think that it must have been sudden because he was very angry. And then I hated myself for the words that I said. I think I learned at a very young age that be careful what you say.
That's very powerful. I feel like a lot of people in the world today are quick to say things out of anger. That's something I've learned over the years is, you know, I was always very quick to lash out of anger and frustration and emotions. And now I'm very, you know, more calculated with what I say, and not everything needs a response.
Absolutely. I can tell you to this day, I don't really remember the funeral. I don't remember much about it. It was kind of like a blur moment for me. And I had to move back home with my mom and my dad. I felt like it was failure to move back home because, I mean, that's the biggest reason I wanted to leave. Me and my mom's relationship wasn't good because, of course, she didn't raise me until after I was 8.5. But after that, I think it was like 3 months after it was 3 weeks after he passed away, and his friends come over to check on me, and they heard my mom say those famous words that she always said, get out of the bed, because I didn't get up for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm a widow at 18. Like, how does that happen?
Did you have a support system at all? Anyone that could help you or talk to you or walk you through it?
No, No, that's just stuff that you think that's never going to happen to you, right? So I remember them saying, well, we have something that she won't never call you fat again, right? Never been in trouble my whole life, started using meth, and 6 months into that, I was on my way to prison for cooking methamphetamine at 18 and a half years old.
Do you think that if that tragedy never happened, you never would have gotten involved with drugs?
I don't know if it's the tragedy. I think it's the trauma from the past. Mental health is real, and how people are treating people matters. And I just know that I think I probably would have tried drugs one time or another, because in my hometown, I told you, there's either church or you're going to do meth. And it's a small town, and you blink, you really will miss it. And I got a 15-year sentence, and I've done 3.5 years to the door.
You got 15 years?
Yeah, I've never been in trouble. They wanted to they're like, oh, we're going to make an example out of you.
For that one arrest for cooking meth?
Yeah, it was a Class Y.
So where do you get busted for? How do you even learn how to cook meth at that age?
Well, one of my uncles that I said it was like my brothers, he was, he had a friend that come around, and we're like, okay, we're going to teach you how to do this. And because in that game of life, like, men will use methamphetamine, whatever, to wave a sack of dope at a female and think that they're fixing to give up their body for it. And they're like, well, we'll go to prison for murder if they ever do that to you. So they thought they were doing me a favor.
In some sick world, they were doing you a favor.
I mean, they didn't want me to be treated like some object. And at that time, I really, it's like I felt like I got little man syndrome. I treated men very badly, talked crazy to them, because I saw so much in that world in that small time that, it made me sick.
So they teach you how to cook meth. Are you physically the one cooking it, or are you just...
Yeah, we're going to get anhydrous, all kind of stuff.
And you're following their lead? They give you a list and you're just shopping for it?
Oh, yeah, we're shopping for it. And then in the middle of it, we're doing it. We're doing everything that is possible. In my mind, really, I'm thinking, well, this is just science.
How hard is it to actually cook meth and make a good product?
Well, it's harder now because a lot of people can't get what they got back then. You can't get anhydrous. Like, we were going to Jonesboro, Illinois from Arkansas to go to the anhydrous tanks to still it. It was... Wow. It's so hard looking back sometimes thinking, wow, how did I even live through some of that? People, at that time period, there was a girl in our hometown that she was cooking meth, and she got blown up.
Because it is dangerous, right?
Very dangerous. You have to be very careful, and they taught me never to be high while you cook methamphetamine, or even while you're selling, for that matter of fact. Don't do that, I must have not been a good drug addict, though, or good because I went to prison, but I never claimed to be good at that. I was so scared, though. When I went, I was like, I'm really going to prison.
Do you hold resentment towards your uncles now?
No, I love them. Actually, I'm working right now. My uncle that taught me how to do this, he's on his way to prison for the 7th time, and he finally reached out for help because that's what I do for a living. I'm a peer recovery specialist for the state of Arkansas. Yeah. And it broke my heart that he finally wanted help. And I'm trying to advocate and do what I can do, and it didn't quite work out. So that first,
did you get busted the very first time, or did you have a little bit of a run?
No, I had a little bit of a run.
Okay. Did you make any money doing it?
Yeah, I got caught with $10,000.
Oh, so you were getting it, girl. You're hustling.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Wow. And how old are you? 19, 20?
Oh, I was 18 and a half when I went to prison.
Oh, wow. So this was a short period of time.
6 months. Yeah, I didn't cook it anymore.
So everything, your whole life, you were choir girl, sports team, and it's all thrown away in just 6 months. It spiraled.
Real quick, it was like a whole bad dream. I was like, is this real? Yeah. Am I asleep? I remember being in county jail, in Mississippi County Jail, and I had a girl tell me I was just never been in trouble, never had a ticket, nothing. I was like, they're not going to send me to prison. Probably just going to get probation. Had that mindset I didn't belong in prison. Had the wrong attitude about it. I thought those people, and like they're killers that go to prison, people that hurt kids. I'm not going. There was nothing wrong with what I did, is the mindset I had. And once I got there, I realized that I did need to be there for what I did. Because cooking methamphetamine, you can give that drug to people and they can die. I remember going there in county jail. The girl said, well, just if anybody comes up to you, just tell them that you killed somebody. This is so crazy. I'm going to share this. But I was there about 2 months, and this big old girl approached me, and I'm like 5'1", like 92 pounds, She's like, what are you in here for? I was like, did I tell you? And, because I told you I had like little man syndrome, right? I thought that I can just go and talk to these people crazy like I did the men out there, And, well, she said, yeah, you are going to tell me. And I'm like, well, if you must know, I'm here for murder. Scared half to death, right? I'm about to get really beat down up in here. And I just walked away, and she just left me alone after that.
She never found out that you weren't there for murder?
No, if they would have looked at my class, I had a class Y. It's the same thing as murder.
Oh, it is, because it's the amount of weight and the money and whatnot that you got caught with?
It's a class Y, yeah.
So what was that experience like, going to county jail for someone that's never been in trouble in her life?
Horrifying. I was like, what they fed us, and I was like, this is unsanitary, I felt like. But if you go to plenty of different county jails, they're all the same. Yeah,
county jails have a terrible rep.
Yeah, when I got to prison, and every time I went locked up after that, I was like, can I just hurry up and go to ADC? This county jail is for the birds. This sucks. Send me to prison so I can have a little bit of freedom. So food can be a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, I was at the Lono County Jail. I got to tour, and, it's clean, but it's not any place you want to live.
No.
It's not these county jails. You could be the best sheriff running the joint. It's still a county jail. The food still sucks. They're close quarters. It's not the best,
Look, in prison, I learned to fold your stuff underneath your mat. I had a lot of lockers that poured into me, though, that first time I went, and I was very thankful for them. It was like they were helping me grow up in a manner, being there 3.5 years. And those were the best people. That's when I tell you that my mindset changed. I was like, these people that kill people, they're the best. Man, I did need to be there for what I did.
So on a 15-year sentence, you only have to serve 3.5 years?
Yeah, it was under a half of a half.
Okay, I've met guys from Arkansas like Michael Springer and George Sedbury, GW.
Yeah.
White George.
Yeah.
He's here at the conference too. He came on my podcast. His episode comes out Sunday.
Oh, I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah,
I did meet
it's
him.
a great one. Yeah. So they all got, when you hear their sentences, it's like, wow. But then they don't, under those laws, you only serve a fraction of it, which is interesting that Arkansas has that.
Yeah, because it's 2 months on every year.
Okay.
2 months and 14 days.
More states should adopt that.
Yeah.
But then I guess on the back end, you're stuck with the parole aspect, which is a dangerous route too. Are you on parole now too?
No, I've been off parole for 6 years now.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
So when you got sentenced to prison, do you feel like you had an addiction at that point?
No, I thought everybody else had the problem.
And not you?
Yeah. I was like, y'all just need to leave me. At that point, nobody was really telling me that I had issues. It wasn't until later on that, of course, I thought they had the problem. Arrested me, I wouldn't do anything wrong to nobody. Just making my money. I haven't had another job because my cousin and my uncle were like, just keep a regular job too. I fought them over them taking that $10,000. I was like, look, I worked for some of that. It was crazy. And they're like, what's wrong with you, girl? We're taking this money. I was at my mom's house. Her and my dad had just got divorced, and my baby brother was 6 months old. And I remember them knocking on the door. It wasn't like some bang bang like everybody talks about. They knocked on the door, and my mom went outside, and it was like she signed it to let them come search. And I was like, look, homegirl, you knew it was here. But I had my baby brother. I wasn't high, I wasn't using at that time. because I was just going to be sober while I'm doing this. And I was so mad. I was like, well, I got my baby brother. I don't want him to go into DHS custody. And like at that point, me and my mom had started using together. Never even knew that she even did that stuff until I started using. She's like, oh, I get high too. And I'm like, that is something you never want to do with your kids. I would never do that with my daughters. But she knew that it was there. Like, I was bringing in the money, hustling, doing whatever I could do to help her pay bills. And, like, she let him come in. And I was like, well, it's over there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did people give you a hard time because of your height, like as a drug dealer? When people say drug dealer, they don't really expect someone that's on the smaller side.
Well, or they just say dope man. They think you're a man.
Yeah, they do, right? Yeah. There's that stigma that every drug dealer is a man, and people are always fascinated with the woman drug dealers.
Well, DTF did. They're like, we know that you didn't do all this. And I'm like, yeah, I did.
I want the credit.
Well, I mean, they just like had me in a holding cell, just thought I was about to just give them a whole bunch of names. And I was like, dude, I'm it. And they're like, this can't be real. I think that's why they threw me the book, is because I think they thought I lied to them. Mm-hmm. Not that I want to be known for this, it is what it is, right?
Yeah. How do you feel Arkansas treats their female prison population?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. When I was in prison at 18 and a half, when I went, it was a little bit more harsh. Now, the 2 times after that I went, it was like I saw a lot of guards that actually poured into women. There's some now that actually poured into me while I was in there that go to my church now. Mm-hmm. It's amazing to watch that there's some that actually care.
Mm-hmm. And what do you mean by they care? Well, how would they treat you guys? Or how did they treat you? What was your experience?
If you gave them respect, they gave you respect. But that was the last 2 times that I went. Before that, I remember it was a bad experience. The men guards were, you got to come in, you're doing a shakedown and you're having a strip and they're there watching. Like, it's very degrading. And
they let male guards see the women?
They would just stand there and the women would be with them. Mm. I figured you probably heard that before, though. Like, that happens everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the feds, so like a woman can't see a male strip and a male can't see a woman strip. I don't know, though. I don't know if that's an actual rule or if that's just the way it unfolded when I was there.
It's supposed to be like that. Like,
it should, right?
We would have men guards that would sit up and, in the thing, and like when they could see down because the women would be having the bathrooms, everything. Like, they saw everything.
How was the the cleanliness conditions?
Actually, not bad. Like, really? They would assign people to do certain things every day. Like, you would have barracks porters. We had 60 women to a barracks.
Okay.
I was glad to be in the open barracks because the closed barracks just drove me nuts.
The closed barracks?
Yeah, you got you and another person, and what if y'all don't get along?
Did you ever not get, and you're so sweet, you're nice, how could anyone not get along with you?
Yeah, we say that, but I say that I'm sweet now, but I don't think I was then.
How would you describe yourself back then?
Just feisty, and I didn't care.
Where do you think that came from?
I think the drug world just kind of taught me that in a short period of time. Mm. I don't know. It's just crazy how to think of like what I was then and who I am now. How
do you think your friends would describe you if we had them here from back then?
Like a hot mess. Look, I had a post that I posted a few weeks ago. I had a guy that had came in my house, and I had another gentleman there, and he was talking crazy to him, right? Well, he had posted, I said, well, post a memory of me, and I had no idea. It's still there. You can go look it up. And he's like, I remember when you pulled a knife on me.
You pulled a knife on someone?
Yeah, you can go look. I mean, it's there. And I was like, I really wanted to delete that, right? And he's like, well, thank God you don't. I was like, thank God I don't live there anymore. Like, I didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not think I would pull a knife on anybody either.
Now, do you feel like there were programs for you for help when you first got sentenced to combat maybe your addiction or anything? Was there any type of help?
Well, so in Mississippi County in Manila, Arkansas, there's no resources for treatment. You have to go to like Jonesboro or Little Rock. It really wasn't talked about a whole lot. My dad's Hispanic, so growing up in that culture, you don't really talk about your problems. talk about it within the family, and then you just sweep it underneath the rug.
And that's where the mental health aspect comes into play.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's a societal community type of stigma?
I think it is, but I think a lot of them that I deal with, like, with the Native population, with the place that I work for, the American Indian Centers of Arkansas, we deal with Hispanic, Native, and the Marshallese. A lot of the culture is that way. You just have to know how to approach them, and we do cultural training to help them be able to approach those people and help them in a manner that you can.
Do you think it's changed over time since you were a young kid?
Yeah, like nobody said, "Hey, go to treatment." It was just like, "Okay, you're going to prison, and this is what I thought I was going to do for the rest of my life."
Oh, and they didn't have peer recovery specialists back then, right?
No, they didn't.
I think that's the coolest thing ever, peer recovery specialist. Like, I got to see firsthand what exactly a peer recovery specialist was.
Yeah.
And all these states need to get on Arkansas's level with what they have going on.
We have some pretty big stuff there. I'm not going to lie to you. We really do.
Yeah, I don't know how many states have a whole peer recovery conference, and it's literally fascinating.
It's awesome, but it's that we get to use that past and turn it into a purpose and help other people. I think it's just my passion that drove me of like what I didn't have and what I want these people to have the chance to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lived experience. That's everything. That's how you create change. And I'll say that all the time. It's that the lived experience will create the change in the world.
It does. I use mine quite often. I do go to like churches, events, and I go into jail and tell my testimony of, what happened in my past, like what trauma affected me to take. Because some people think that, oh, you're just going to be an addict. Like there's reasons behind that. There's a mental health aspect or there's trauma that happened that I can remember the exact moment of when I knew that I wanted to numb something in my life. I can pinpoint it to, and I didn't even know what drugs were then. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, they just want to look at us like send us to prison. That's all we need. But we just need resources and help.
What's one thing or two things that would have helped you back then after your tragedy with your husband?
Just probably getting me to counseling and not sweeping it underneath the rug. Like, I remember my mom and them telling me, you're just going to be okay. It's all right. Like, he put his hands on you before he died. Like, it's going to be all right. No, it wasn't all right. Like, that was traumatic. And what's crazy is that wasn't the only thing that happened in my life that was tragedy. I just had to get through it.
Now, you said you got arrested the first time for cooking meth. Mm-hmm. What about the other two times?
So I want to say the second time, I just thought I was so slick. I had done, I come home at 21 and had my oldest daughter done really good, stay clean. She was just the perfect thing in the world, She's actually 18 now and getting ready to graduate May 7th. So, yeah.
So a big period of time passed between your first time and your second time.
Yeah. I was out. Well, so her dad, he was an alcoholic. And I was like, I don't want to go to prison. Like, you got to get this alcohol at this house. I was scared to death. Like, I just don't want to go back. That's what I always told myself. Never going back. I told the lockers when I was leaving, you won't see me again, all that stuff. I did that. And I remember that I just told them, I was like, I'm not coming back. And then I had her. And then, I'd done really good. I had both of my girls before I went back again. So my daughters are 2 years apart.
Okay.
So, went through me to go to my second time. So my youngest daughter's dad was really into a lot of pills at that time, and I just thought I was slick. So for like a year, I was calling a small town pharmacy, calling in prescriptions, and we were picking them up. Like, I was like, who does that?
You didn't need any scripts or anything?
No, I just called them in and act like I was a nurse.
And that worked.
Swear.
Well, that doesn't work in today's world, right?
No, this was 2011.
Oh, so not even that long ago.
Mm-mm.
Wow. That definitely didn't help the drug problem in America.
No, and I was just doing it for him. Like, he was real big into pain pills. I never got into that. Like, the only drugs I was really into was methamphetamine.
So did you get caught doing that? Calling in the scripts?
No, I got caught going to pick them up.
What happened?
So it got real big. Like, we're in a small town. Everybody's going to know about it, right? So I'm calling them in for him and his friends and then my friends. And I'm just like, look, I'll call you in these and you bring me the dope because I'm not cooking it again. That was like my stipulations, which was not good, So I called them in and I was like, they're like, this one girl, she's like, I need a ride to go get them. And we're like probably 30 minutes away from the pharmacy. And we go in there and she's like, we won't let me pick them up. Next thing you know, a police officer is going up, knocking, and he takes my phone and he's like, yep, this is the number that it called from. I'm like, Jesus, still not a good criminal.
And how much time did you get for that?
Actually, so I had court postponed for like a year. So then I get in trouble again during that time.
That's the third time.
Well, getting arrested, yeah. So I didn't go to prison yet because I was like fighting it, thought I was just going to win for some crazy reason. And I get a forgery charge. So before that time, though, like I go to jail and my youngest daughter's dad, he's my husband at the time, he bonds me out. And we had done lost the kids to DHS once, and then we got them back. And as long as I wasn't using meth, I could pass the drug test. So DHS could come in and it wouldn't matter. Like I was going to pass, but he just didn't. It was just difficult at that time. And I was like, well, he's going to do what he's going to do, and I'm just going to do whatever I want. And then so I started using meth again at that time because I wanted them to give me the meth for the pills. And I was like, well, I'm going to do this. It's going to be a gravy train because I'm doing it for a year. And I get caught and I get out of jail and I'm having court go on for a year. And at that time, people would talk about like, oh, if you go to court for 2 years, they dismiss it. I then went to treatment 2 times during that time, 2 30-day rehabs. I was like, I can't get it together. I can't get my kids back. So I went ahead and signed custody over to both of their grandmothers because I knew I wasn't going to keep. I just knew, and I knew that they didn't need to be in foster care. And I was a horrible mom. I'm just going to be honest. I was a horrible mom. I wasn't there for them. I didn't fight for them. I thought I had to have their dads to have them, which was crazy. You don't think of that as something that happens, but it does. Women, not just drugs, but it became the men that was in my life, became above everything else too. So I get the forgery charges, so they run them concurrent, and I'm on my way to prison, and I went to court for a while over that. So this was 2014 by the time I got to court. In prison, sitting in county jail and then going to prison. While there in the prison, I think I'd done a year and 9 months. But Darren, I think it was after a year I was there. I can't remember the time they gave me. I think it was like 7 years. I was supposed to do 14 months and go home. But at that time, I had my parole plans approved to go to my mom. And I got a call out of the barracks one day, and I'm thinking, man, am I going to make my phone call early? You know what that feels like. They call you. I'm going to the chaplain's office, and they tell me that my mom died. So we never made that reconnection of, like, restoration. And in there, like, you just don't cry. And I remember 2 days after, they're telling me, so at the McPherson unit in Newport, swine flu outbreak happens. There's no coming or going. The police officer's there to come get me to go to my mom's funeral, and they tell me I can't go. That was difficult. I remember just, I knew I was like, I can't cry. I got to suck this up. I go back in the barracks, and a few days after that, the chaplain calls me down there, and he's like, well, we had to tell the parole officer that your mom died. So you're going to have to, like, go to a halfway house. I'm like, man, I always come home to my mom, Like, I felt like in a way like she enabled me. At that time, like, that's why I ended up staying, a year and 9 months, because I didn't know how to ride a halfway house. I didn't know what that looked like. Nobody helped me. They give you a list, and you figured it out.
And they're worse in some cases than prison.
Oh, yeah, the one that I walked into, I went to one in Little Rock, and they had you sitting on a crate. It was a behavior modification program, and they were telling you about yourself. Well, I was not having it. 3 weeks in there, and I rolled out and went to another one. Done really good for a little while, started going to cosmetology school. And then I remember, like, I have kids at home. I thought, well, let me go, not move back to Manila, but close enough, Jonesboro, Arkansas, right? Let me just go back there. So I'm telling this parole officer, I was like, look, I can't live here in Little Rock. This is a hot mess. This is too much for me. I'm going to go to Jonesboro at the women's shelter. So I ended up staying clean like 18 months, started going to a 12-step program, got a sponsor, really trying to do something different. But I still didn't know if I really wanted it. You know, we get in those aspects sometimes where we self-sabotage ourselves. I got a job, started doing really good, moved up as a shift leader, and then I was like, I don't know, what if I mess up now? Like, what's that going to look like? So, home and getting home and doing that, it got so much on me, and then they wouldn't let me see my kids. And I was like, well, what am I sober for? Just go big or go home, right? That's what I had the attitude as. And I think I was out there for about 2 years. And in between that time, I went to 4 other 30-day treatments. And it's still not clicking, right? Like, why can't I stay sober? Then again, I'm not really healing and getting the help that I need. Nobody's talking to me about, maybe you need to talk to somebody about what's going on in your past. They're just there to get you clean for 30 days, and then you go back home. Then it wasn't real big about the, like transitional living after 30-day treatment, right? You didn't hear a lot about that. They may have had one that was connected into Jonesboro, really hard to get into at that time. It isn't now. Like, you can go there and they'll keep you into treatment until they have an opening, and then they'll let you go, which is amazing now. So they're doing big things there now, helping individuals, men and women, go into transitional living. But I'm out there for 2 years, and I done got arrested 2 more times in between that 2 years, right? Going to court over it. And then finally I get arrested again, and I'm in county jail the 3rd time, right? And a girl told me, she's like, if you go to a faith-based rehab, you might not go to prison, right? I was like, no, they're going to push Jesus on me. And she's like, well, you might not go to prison. You said you didn't want to go again. And I was just really tired. But I didn't know if I could succeed, like what it really looked like. So this was in December of 2016 in county jail. I write them, I get an acceptance letter. And out of the blue, my uncle that, did a lot of my mess with, he bonds me out at midnight, dude. And I'm like, I just had 3 hots and a cots waiting to go to this treatment. What's wrong with you? Me and his girlfriend at that time didn't get along. He's like, well, you can't come to my house. I was like, why did you bond me out at midnight? I'm thinking people probably thought I snitched or something. Well, that didn't happen. So at that time, my sister had my apartment. I had like a condominium. Of course, like I was selling drugs in that time. So she pulled my car over the scales. Like I didn't have no car, no apartment to go home to, nothing. And I was like, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to call my homies, right? Even though I had this letter and I didn't want to go to jail again, I really didn't want to get high, but I had no other choice. I felt like there was no other option for me. Nobody told me, like, maybe you could call me and we can help you. I didn't have anybody to help me along the way to know that they were positive influences on my life. So I get there, and I'm like 2 weeks into using, and I'm like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. So I called the treatment center, and it was faith-based. It was Restoration House Ministries in Harrisburg, Arkansas. The place saved my life. She said, well, if you come, you're going to be sober a few days. And I was like, well, I just used yesterday. And she's like, well, you're going to be clean a few days. So somebody told me one time that you'll do what you need to do, like you did what you need to do when you wanted to get drugs. So I walked around this neighborhood and found an abandoned apartment, no electricity, no water, and I slept there for 2 days. My last day of use was January 24th of 2017, and my clean date is the 25th of January of 2017.
That was your breaking point right there.
Yeah. Went into treatment. I was there like a month and maybe 17 days. Went to court on March 14th, and they still sentenced me to prison from a 9-month-long treatment. Wouldn't even let me finish it.
How much prison time did they give you?
Well, to be crazy, they were trying to violate 50 years SIS.
50 years?
Trying. I mean, it was all God, like, because I'm going to tell you that that's a lot of time. Yeah, and I already had, like, also, like, these 2 pending charges that I got arrested for. And I'm like, this is bad business. But the prosecutor, I mean, I only got a 3-year sentence, and I did 6 months.
And that was the last time you ever went to prison?
It's the last time I ever went to prison. But in that time period, like, I really wanted to take advantage of what was in prison. So there was a PALS program, which is a faith-based program inside of prison. I don't know if they have that in federal prison or not.
They might. I didn't really do much programming when I was in prison.
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of this stuff to take off time before it, but it was never educational or helpful. You know, it was just let me get 10 days off, you know. But I had already started feeling a relationship with God at that time. You know, he was feeling in me what nothing else ever did. Like, he was the last thing I tried, but the first thing that worked. So going to that, he just filled me with so much joy. It's like going to prison the last time didn't bother me. And that's weird. I'm just telling you, it's weird to hear me say that. But it didn't bother me. Like, I had peace in there. I went in that program, and I had heard about Cornerstone Transitional Home, that it was faith-based. And I'm like, man, I went to a halfway house before. I don't know about this life. You know, but I had no other choice. I had to be self-sufficient and nobody to go to. Like, my grandmother's already in a nursing home. Like, I don't need to put the burden on them anymore. Like, it's time to grow up. So I went to that program, and I lived there 18 months before I moved out. I was able to get a factory job that I had never worked in a factory because my dad was like, you're not factory material. It's okay. So I always did, like, fast food and get shift leader positions because I liked being a leader. You know, I think maybe it's because I like being bossy. I'm just going to be honest. But, I mean, that's what they told me. But at this factory in Newport, Arkansas, like, I excelled. Started out at $9.50 an hour and left as a shift coordinator right underneath the supervisor, you know, and I was able to buy my first home when I moved out of that transitional home. Mm-hmm. They gave me tools, and we done life skill classes, and we had therapy. Like, they helped us. They showed us that there was things that we needed to do, you know, to go to work every day, because I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to pay bills. I didn't know how to adult. Like, somebody had to show me those things. I mean, I grew up in prison, it felt like. I didn't know how to be a mom. I didn't even think that I can go in my daughter's life. You know, and while in prison the last time, I got adoption papers on her. This is the one that I have a great relationship today. Like, we were just video chatting last night, and I told her I was going to come on here, and she's like, just don't embarrass me, Mom.
Well, you're doing a good job. You're not embarrassing her.
No. She's a great kid. You know, and she's going to college. She's a straight A student, and, like, I'm thankful that her grandmother adopted her. I don't know if she would turn out as good as she did if I would have raised her.
Do you feel like the universe kept sending you back to prison until you finally had, like, that moment that got you clean?
I believe that. I believe that he gave me some tools beforehand to let me know that there's a different way. But I had to be shown that there was, because nobody ever talked about really getting help. I didn't know that I could actually own a home. Like, who does that? Like, I didn't think that was possible. Like, you don't hear people going to prison and they own their own home. Yeah. You know, so with that home that I first bought, we now turned it into a men's transition home, me and my husband.
Oh, that's so cool. Isn't he here at the conference?
He is not here. He was at the last one, though.
Oh, okay.
When I met you, he was there with me.
Okay, gotcha. I was going to say you should have told him to come to this thing if he was here.
Well, he is a supervisor at the factory that I first worked at. But when we met, he was a director of a men's ministry when we met. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you had mentioned before that you felt like you were a terrible mother.
Yeah.
How do you overcome that feeling? How do you make amends and have peace with that, knowing that you can't get that time back to kind of go back and fix it?
It took me a lot of healing to do that. I'm going to tell you because the kids can forgive you, but it's so hard to forgive yourself. But you also have to own what you did. You have to say, hey, I was horrible. But that's not what she would tell you today. You know, like, she loves her mom. You know, and we get to talk and we get to just share memories now. But she's so proud of me, though. And I told her I was going to do peer recovery, and she's like, so proud of you, Mom. Like, to hear my daughter say those things, it's so heartfelt that you start to forgive yourself. It takes time. I'm not going to lie.
It's a process.
I mean, clean almost, 7.5 years, and it takes a long time.
Do you ever have those temptations or urges to use again?
I've never had one since I've been clean and sober. I think I just kind of gave that up when I found that there was a new way.
And you have something to live for.
I do. Yeah, we own a new home, and then we own a home that's a transition, and me and my husband have a great life, and I never thought that I could have, like my husband, he's a God-fearing man, but not just that, like I don't have to worry about him cheating. I'm not going to go through his phone. He's not going to go through mine. We're not going to yell. We're not going to cuss at each other. Of course, we argue. Every couple does that, but we're not going to talk crazy to each other. I'm not going to cuss him. It's not that toxic relationship. Like I never knew what a good relationship looked like until him.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And a big part of peer recovery is using your lived experience to help someone else. Yeah. Do you believe that you've been able to help people by sharing your story and your personal experience?
I do. And there's sometimes like I will share deeper, intimate things with people that's happened to me because I feel like it can help them. And also not just using our lived experience, but having the resources to help them. Like there's going to be a lot that don't have IDs, that don't know how to get it. Like I was born in Memphis, Tennessee. I didn't live there, but I was born there. So when I got out, I had to order my birth certificate from Tennessee, So that's when you have to order those things. A lot of them don't know how to get their identification. Like we done that whole thing. I can't remember what they called it, but we were trying to get IDs and all this stuff and go to the halfway house. And I was like, I don't remember it being that complicated. But now that there's other states, you see that it's complicated for them to get the necessities that they need. I mean, I walked out with a brown paper sack and a Bible and letters that my grandmother wrote me. So it's difficult, but using my lived experience, I love helping somebody know that they don't have to stay stuck in that lifestyle.
Finish what you're saying. No, I want to hear the last part, but sorry, I cut you off there.
Well, I think I was almost done. I was just finishing that part, to be honest.
Okay. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell that 18-year-old self if you were in the room with her?
That's difficult. I've never had anybody ask me that question.
I'm known for asking a good question or two.
It might take me a minute. I would think that I would tell her that to get help for the trauma that she's been through. Because a lot of people don't talk about it. There's a lot of struggles that people go through that they don't talk about them. And it's okay to talk about them. I mean, I have a sponsor and a therapist and all that good stuff now, because I know it's necessary to keep my sobriety.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Cassie, thank you so much for sharing your incredible story. I'm sure it's going to hit home for a lot of listeners on our show. And thank you so much for the constant support. The comments on Facebook, the likes, pushing it out there, your energy. And I'm really glad that you're doing well and that, you have a plan and successes in the future for you.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see you help other people get their story out. It's amazing to watch.
I'm trying, one day at a time, but there's a never-ending amount of stories. And, we're doing 3 a week, and it's good to be out here in the field connecting with people. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day. I could be in a position where the whole show's mobile, eventually,
Wow.
going state to state or staying in an RV or I don't know. You never know. The sky's the limit now that I know how to do all of this now.
Well, if you come back to Arkansas, please let me know because we, for the center that I work for, we got 2 peers on staff besides me, and we're getting ready to hire more.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to go to Arkansas again. I had a great time that weekend there. Yeah. It was just really eye-opening, to what they're doing there. And I'm very passionate about that.
I know back then we said that we had like 500, but I know there has to be way more than that. Way more than that now. There's so many people that know that they can do something different, and they're like, okay, this is a career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought that somebody that been through what you've been through, doing what you do, and me going to prison 3 times and doing what I do, it's amazing to watch.
It makes us who we are. It gives us a special story, makes us different.
Yeah.
Against the grain,
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, have a safe trip back to Arkansas. Do you drive or fly?
So we are flying out tomorrow.
Okay. How long is the flight from here?
So it says it's a 3.5 hour.
Well, it's still 3.5 hours?
Well, because we got to fly to Atlanta and then Atlanta to Little Rock.
Okay. Yeah, we had a layover too. We were in Detroit, and on the way back home, I think we have a layover in D.C. I was looking at that. No, why can't they just have a direct flight?
Yeah, and then I have to fly out to Florida, but that's just because we're going on our first big vacation. So.
Oh, that's the whole family?
Well, me and my husband, my daughter, she has to be at school until she graduates. So.
Oh, well, that's so nice. Yeah. Well, tell your husband I said hello.
I will. Thank you so much.
And you can let him know that you did a killer job on the podcast.
Well, I'm going to let him judge that and let him watch it. I like to be humble and just let him watch it.
Just except when you're bossy, right, Tim?
Yeah, I think everybody knows that I am, though.
Good. Well, thank you, Cassie, and safe travels back.
All right. Thank you.